Everybody owns a car. We drive them every day. If you have to change the oil, no one sits there and complains to each other about having to change the oil in our car. It's implied maintenance. But I can't tell you how many buyers in the world now don't have any concept of what implied maintenance is on your home.
The second that you start getting into the actual repairs to be done, in our opinion, now we're introducing a whole new list of variables into the scenario because sellers are fixing it like they're leaving and buyers want it fixed like they're going to be there for 100 years.
I'm just in shock to this day that no one's ever come along and said, hey, you need to have a basic household manual for people. Home inspections are routine. We have a system at House Call. All of our home inspectors do the same thing. And we're walking around the house and I'm doing my routine and he's asking me 1,000 questions. Don't get mad if I walk right by a disconnected downspout.
If we have a light bulb and it's really high and it needs to change, who do we call? If the grass needs cut, who do we call?
Get a freaking ladder, man.
You're spot on.
It was like a laundry list of things like, who do we call? And at the very end of all their questions, I'm like, you call each other.
Excited to bring a guest to the podcast today, Mr. Chris Bailing. We're going to get right into it. Chris is our preferred home inspector here in Nashville. So we're excited to interview him and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today, but first, Chris, give us a little, you came from corporate America, right? And you got into home inspecting later, right? And yes. If I recall, you had some pretty interesting, you have a pretty interesting corporate background.
I do. I've been all over the U.S. and all over foreign countries. I used to be a national sales manager for a private overhead crane builder. And so I built 2 different companies and for different owners. And I've put cranes in at Tesla, SpaceX, Fort Bragg, all over the U.S.
That's amazing. So what in the world got you from all the way there to opening a home inspection company?
Crazy. So that's a funny story. So my neighbors across the street when we lived in northern Indiana owned a home inspection business. Okay. Kids the same age, had kids like within a month of each other. And here I was, basically, I felt like I worked a lot as a salesman. I'm just a career worker. So I was always working and I saw them, building their business. And so my wife also, who's our CFO here at House Call, now worked at the same company. They brought her on after they hired me, and she was, ran HR and operations for them. And one time we were just sitting at dinner, and I said, "Hey, I was closing in on 40. I might have been 40. I mean, this might be my midlife crisis, if you want to be honest." We were sitting at dinner, and I said, "Hey, are we going to work for this company? Are we going to retire here?" And she was like, I think you should, you build great businesses. I think we should do something ourselves, right? Stop making other people money. So we started talking to our neighbors about an inspection company and their inspection company. And then we did a little market research. And Nashville at the time, this was in 2017. Nashville at the time was, a hot market, right? Starting to get hot in the country landscape. I'd never been to Nashville, so we decided to come down for the weekend. And like 60 days later, we moved here. We quit our jobs, gave them like 5 weeks notice and quit our jobs and moved here with our life savings and started an inspection business.
Crazy. So
yeah, so it is a midlife crisis.
Yeah. Hey, man, that's great. But so did you get a chance to meet Elon at all?
Yeah. Yes, I did. You didn't really talk to him.
Yeah.
I mean, he talked to you, right?
Sure.
But he didn't, you didn't he ran the conversations.
Sure.
You didn't really.
Yeah. You're just kind of answering questions, but he's not like, hey, let's sit down and have a back and forth.
No. Yeah. I mean, this is what I want. And
okay. Yeah.
As a vendor, you shake your head. Yes.
Yeah. Right. You're just like, yeah, whatever you say. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So, all right. So you started it in 2017.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
go ahead. What were you saying?
Our first inspection we ever did was in 2018.
Okay.
I wasn't even licensed when I moved here. Like
wow.
we moved here, got a place, and I sat down and cracked open the books and did my 90 hours of online training. I mean, I knocked it out because, at that point, like it was go time, right?
Right.
So I knocked it out, took the test, and started calling on agents.
So this is applicable to agents too. How do you parachute into Nashville, no contacts, and grow a inspection business that's highly reliant on referrals from the ground up?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I talk about this all the time, even with my growth teams, like, and because we're in multiple states now. So like, here's the thing. Like you go through, so as an agent, you get licensed. As a home inspector, I got licensed, but I don't know anybody, right? So I started calling on offices. And it's not like you walk into an office and they're like, oh, come on in, we need a home inspector, right?
Right.
No, that doesn't happen, right? They already have somebody. Nashville existed before Chris showed up, right? You know what I mean? So I was discouraged at first, right? Like I did a lot of sales calls. I did what I call a milk run. I had like different areas I would do on different days, but it wasn't like just overly welcoming. Everybody was super nice, but nobody didn't know me and I hadn't done a home inspection yet. So I think I got licensed in November that year. And about February, Brianna and I, we were chewing through savings, pretty hard at that point, not generating any revenue. And I went to bed one night, I think, and I said, okay, are you going to succeed or fail, right? Like, are you going to tuck your tail between your legs and go back home to Indiana? Or are you going to make this? So I started getting creative. And that's where I think a lot of agents, there's a playbook for every agent, even like you guys coach, but like at some point you have to set yourself off differently from everybody else. Sure. You have to like create your own unique selling points. Right. And then, so, I started doing sales every day, 8 to 5, even though agents weren't always in the office. I got serious about it. Right. Yeah. And there were a few times I even gave away free inspections because I felt like I could be sitting at home. Right. It's like I look at new agents and I'm like, I ask them, do you do open houses? Do you take on free work from, do you do things like this for other agents, right? To get out there, get experience. And I kind of view that in mind. Like I did a couple of free home inspections for agents. And I figured I could be sitting at home doing nothing, or I could be out inspecting. And it was kind of, all of a sudden, a few people used me, and I started to pick up traction in a few offices, and the rest is history.
I want to point out a couple of things from that. Number one is that even somebody with your corporate business experience who have built businesses for other people, which in those scenarios, you probably have a lot more capital that you're working with. Then basically, but you still got to a point where you're like, okay, I really got to do something here, kind of when you're running out of your own personal capital, right? Oh, and so sometimes when realtors tell me, it's like, yeah, I've got my savings, I've got some savings set up. And I'm like, yeah, you're really not going to work until that starts to run out, because it's like you have this sort of like a little bit of a safety net, and it's not until you lose that safety net where you're starting to go away, where you're like, okay, I really got to make something happen. And it starts to trigger some things in your brain or creativity. It's like, I got to do something different. Number one. Number two, what was it you were saying? Oh, doing things for free. And this is one of those things like in the real estate business where people, like there's a lot of, talk out there about like never, undervalue yourself and never do. I'm like, I did listings for free at the very beginning. If it was a competition situation where I'm like, I need this listing just for the visibility, and I did some for free at the very beginning, and I made tons of money off of those. One of them, I ended up like, I could track to that one listing what I did for like $500. Okay. I could track over $100,000 of income from people I met at open houses. They ended up buying something else. Over and over again. It's like, so realtors are like, oh, I'm not going to do this for free. I'm not going to do it for nothing. I'm not going to undervalue myself. I'm like, sometimes you just got to get out there and make some things happen and create opportunity and take it on the chin a little bit, and you're going to be fine in the long run.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly. The first point, and now that you repeated it all back to me, is yes, if you go into anything and you're not fully committed, meaning like when your resources are dwindling down to nothing, that is go time, right? Like you definitely, if it's nice to have like your savings and say, oh, I can live 6 months off this, right? Well, I mean, we lived almost 5 months. It was getting to the point where like, okay, I had to like, it was easier for me to be like, oh, nobody's in the office at 3. I'm going to shut it down.
Yeah.
Right. And all of a sudden a switch turned. The competitor, the person in me that's not going to fail. I just said, okay, it's time to get serious and make this work.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second part is, yes, I mean, that first year I did a ton of free inspections. I'm not too proud. I'm not too proud not to say that. Anytime I felt like there was an agent, now I quantified the agent's volume, right? Mm-hmm. If I felt like they were an agent that did consistent work and the opportunity existed for me to do a free inspection for them to get my name out there to see, so they could see our inspection process, see the report, things like that. I definitely did one. Now it benefited me. And just like you said, you could track 100K back. Mm-hmm. I felt like if I did a free inspection for you, almost every one of them scheduled a second one. You know why? Because they almost felt committed to me. Like Chris did a good job. I should give him another inspection so he makes money. And a lot of those first agents use us still to this day. So
yeah, it's just reciprocity, right? It's like you kind of it's like when you're trying to make it out there, you've got to do things for people, serve them. And I can even say like you're here on this podcast today because as we start to get to know each other, you're like, hey, let me sponsor a happy hour for your agents, right? So you came in, bought everybody some drinks, we had a good time. And it's like, it's something that I got to do for my agents, right? It's like, hey, you guys come out, we got to, it can be hard sometimes because we're going a million different directions. It's like, okay, so you offered that to us. And then I'm like, hey, I need to use Chris on this next inspection or you got a little bit of, FaceTime with them. And then all of a sudden you're picking up inspections. So it's not rocket science, but I think agents need to understand. It's like, sometimes you just got to get out there and make it happen and do things be service oriented and do things for less than you think.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you're not valuable as a real estate agent. It's not that. It's just like you have to prove your value though.
100%. Yeah. I mean, you have to, it's the age old thing. You have to spend money to make money. So if you think if you're just going to get into this and be like, and not have a plan, now you need to evaluate every dollar that goes out the door, right? Was this, like in our case, we sponsored your agent event, right? And since then, it's folded into a bunch of other little partnerships that we've done together that have benefited both parties, I think. So, I mean, I'm a big believer. Like, if you just think you're going to sit back and like rest on your laurels, that's not going to get it.
Yeah, we see a lot of agents too that will a lot of agents move from other careers, right? Just like you did. So they have some sort of career and they decide they want to get into real estate, right? So they leave that job and they come into real estate. Maybe they have their 6 month salary, but they're 4 or 5 months in before they pick up the phone and make some phone calls, right? So they're like, I got 6 months, but I'm not going to really do any work until there's 1 month left, and I've got nowhere to go. So I think it's so important that you said it's go time. It's go time when you quit the other job. You got to get in, start making the phone calls, start making the relationships, start selling houses as soon as possible, so that you don't run out of the 6 months, and then you still got that buffer once you're in the business. So I totally agree with you.
You're spot on. I talk to so many agents that try to dip their toe in real estate. And as a home inspector, I mean, I deal with the top agents in Nashville and I deal with people that do it part-time. And my advice to all part-time agents is like, hey, if you're going to if you're okay with doing 2 deals a year, then that's fine, right? That's your path, right? But if you're trying to be serious about this, you gotta quit and go all in, right? You just can't. You're not going to roll. This is not an industry that you're going to just roll the cart down the hill and it's eventually going to get there. It's not happen. No. I'm just telling you, it's not going to happen. Like you just said, prospecting. Do you know how many agents I talk to like I ask them like, hey, so do you sell new construction homes? And they say, yes. And I say, okay, do you follow up at 30 days? How's your experience living in the house? Do you follow up at 6 months? Do you have like at 10 months? Are you reminding them to get their warranty inspection? And they like don't have a drip campaign. And I'm like, you don't know when that person's going to run into somebody at their church, their kid's school, or somebody at the grocery store that could, refer them to you as a possible client.
Exactly.
And that's really what's turned the corner. Our home inspection business is so close to being an agent. It's not even funny because like that's the difference between us and other home inspectors, right? Other home inspectors market only when they're not busy, if they're a single owner operator.
Right.
So while they're busy, they don't market, right? We market 24/7.
Yeah, you have to.
So
and you do unique things. Like you've got the cruise giveaway that you do that's very unique, like other things like that I feel like really draws people in. And sure, like not everybody's going to win a cruise, but the thought that they might is just one more reason why they should use House Call. And there's many others, but that's just an example of something that you do that's very unique that I feel like is very, it works very well.
Well, when we were there that night, that gentleman that won the cruise said he came to our mutual event because he saw that there was being a cruise going away, and he was the one that won.
That's awesome.
That's what makes it even more comical. So
I love that. Yeah, no, it is. It's like just try different things, and it's like I think we've talked about this. Like 90% of the stuff you try is not going to work, but 10% of it will, right? Yeah. And the other thing is like no matter what, even if you have a perfect business framework, which you've got amazing corporate experience, RL's got amazing corporate experience. But at the end of the day, you still got to grind, right? You're just going to have to grind, period. I don't care who you are.
I don't care what industry you're in. I mean, you have to prospect. You can't just wait for inspections to come to you, and we can't wait for deals to come to us, right? Like maybe I meet somebody tomorrow and maybe they buy a house, but you can't wait for the next one. You've got to pick up the phone. You got to make some phone calls. You've got call on, like you did. You called on offices. You didn't wait for the offices to just find out you got your license. Like you made some phone calls to try to generate some business. And I think that's what agents and maybe home inspectors don't do well in our industry is just like actually go to find the business. Don't wait for it to come to you.
Well, I always used to have this saying, like with my sales teams when I was in corporate America, and even now with my current sales team, if we're not growing, we're dying. Yeah. Right. So like, if we're not growing, we're dying. There is no such thing as treading water, right? If you're in the ocean treading water, it's only a matter of time before a shark comes up and bites you. Right. So, I mean, you have to have a destination that you're swimming towards or you're done. So, that's why I say like no prospecting, no, just waiting for the next deal to hit you in the face. That's just not even a smart sales plan at all.
So with that background and perspective, I'm curious to find like when you get in, when you're coming into this, you haven't seen agents operate before, and then you're starting to do inspections for them. Where did you see agents go? You're like, what are you doing? Like, where did you see them start to make mistakes in that inspection process? And you probably still see it, but where do you see agents kind of mess up in that inspection period?
Yeah. So some agents are going to probably hear this and they're going to be like, Chris is too harsh on us.
Dude, that's what we're here for. We're not talking to any individuals, right? It's like for everybody.
Yeah, I want you to hear the truth. Yeah. Like setting buyers' expectations is huge, right? Like people just don't understand this. I have the car analogy, and I don't know if I've given that to you before,
I don't know.
But
okay. What is it?
A lot of everybody owns a car. We drive them every day, right? And if you have to change the oil, no one sits there and complains to each other about having to change the oil in our car. It's just like we do it. It's implied maintenance, right? But I can't tell you how many buyers in the world now, especially the younger people, and I'm sorry, but they buy houses and they just don't have any concept of what implied maintenance is on your home, right? And so they move in and they have to replace a deck board or caulk around a window. And, it's one of those things that's like, that's just maintenance. Every homeowner in America has to do that, right? The home inspection is really, we highlight those maintenance things for you. right? But at the end of the day, if I could tell you your transmission was going out, that's what you really want to know. If I could tell you that your engine on your car is going to fail, that's the critical things that we review with the clients and agent. And so I always try to tell buyers agents, like, look, you really got to set expectations. We're going to give your client a report that has 60 plus items in it. And that is going to be sticker shock to them if you haven't set that table. Right? Yeah. If you have not told them that, hey, my home inspection company is super thorough, they're going to find a ton of things, but a lot of it is just general household maintenance, right?
Go
ahead.
No, sorry. This is a true story, Chris. And I think it might blow your mind, but maybe not because you've seen a lot. So I closed on a home with a couple that just graduated college. They both got phenomenal jobs. They went out of college, got $150,000 jobs each. So they're as a family making $300,000 right out of college. Very smart individuals. Close on the home. I'm kind of walking them through the house after closing. I gave them their closing gift or whatever, and they both start to ask me these questions. First one was, if we have a light bulb and it's really high and it needs to change, who do we call? If the grass needs cut, who do we call? Like,
get a freaking ladder, man.
You're spot on.
Yeah, and it was like a laundry list of things like, who do we call? And at the very end of all their questions, I'm like, you call each other. Like, figure it out. Like, one of you's got to make it happen. And then I went on to serious. I was like, I can give you a list of people that I recommend if you can't do it yourself. But guys, once you buy a house, like, these kind of maintenance items are on you. Like, you could find somebody if you don't want to do it yourself, but you need to learn like some basic maintenance.
That is hilarious.
But light bulbs, they literally asked about light bulbs, and I was blown away.
I mean, you were spot on. I mean, do you know how many homes I've inspected in my time where I go in? Now, you are the seller. You know your house is on the market, okay? Mm-hmm. And I come in and inspect your house, and the air filter looks like it hasn't been changed in 2 years. Like, to me, like, I'm absolutely in shock every time I open up that vent and I see a dirty filter, because I'm thinking to myself, like, did the listing agent not prep you for this? Like, that's like the basic thing that if I were a listing agent, I would be like, hey, you need to have every light bulb in the house needs to work. Every air filter needs to be changed, all these things. But no, it's like, I'm in shock. Like, when I see it, it's like, it's
amazing.
a $10 filter.
Maybe we need to start a business where we just like have a monthly plan, like.
Oh, there is a plan. I'm telling you, there's a business model there.
Yeah, there probably is, because you're right. And you're right. We're kind of like harping on this younger generation, but it's true. They have no knowledge of maintenance, right? How to change an air filter, how to change a light bulb, which blows my mind. But it's like, we all grew up with like doing that stuff.
We do harp on the younger generation, but a lot of it is our fault, or
true.
People our age to slightly above our age.
100%. It starts at the top. We're the one raising our children.
Yeah,
okay?
and
if you're not showing them how to change a tire, you're pretty like.
That's right. And, kids these days, like, no parents want their kids to fail. So they make sure they're all safe and happy and that nothing goes wrong. And I'm guilty of it too. And so it's just one of those things where then they go out in the real world and they don't know how to do anything.
My youngest, Mila, she's 5. She's about to turn 6. And so we had a Santa event at my house for client event. And so she got a ton of like FaceTime with Santa. Sure. Right. Okay. And he's a phenomenal
grilling
Santa,
him.
Right. And so she has that experience. And then she's in downtown Franklin for a little like Christmas market, and he's working there. And he goes, hey, Mila, it's so good to see you. And so she thinks she knows Santa. And I'm like, I'm going to have to make this kid's life more difficult, because they're like, we raise them in a bubble, right? And we want their childhood to be perfect. And then you realize, man, I really haven't given them any like soft skills in terms of like, hey, exactly.
Dealing with adversity or no, that's not happening.
It's crazy. Like, if you think about this, I had this epiphany the other day. How many of you have like the Santa thing or the little elf going around for
elf on the shelf.
Yeah. And so like my wife had bought last year, she had bought some little outfits and stuff for the elf, right? Different things to like do. And even that comes with instructions.
Yeah.
Think about this. The mic that we're all using today came with some type of instruction sheet, right? almost everything you buy, right? Chairs, everything comes with instructions. Do you know, like, houses don't come with instructions?
No, they
Like,
do not.
you buy a manufactured house, like you can buy an RV today, a car, it comes with an owner's manual. To this day, I'm still in shock. Like, we put almost all human beings at some point own a house, right?
Yeah.
And yet every time they move in, there's never been a requirement for a builder to be like, hey, by the way, here's just a general home maintenance
Yeah,
/
that's really interesting when you say that, because I'm like, why wouldn't you give an instruction man? I mean, you're right, because there's so many components.
I
There's
thought
so much
about
going
starting
on.
a business, going to builders and just creating owner's manuals for them.
Not a bad
Yeah, I
idea.
think that builders are more dispersed than auto manufacturers or RV manufacturers. So that's exactly why that there's no like set manual, but you could easily create one that's pretty universal.
That'd
I mean,
be
a lot of this stuff doesn't change. Like,
That's a really good download, by the way, for people. Like a free download to get clients would be like, hey, here's your home instruction manual.
I just, to me, it's like, I'm just in shock to this day that no one's ever come along and said, hey, you need to have a basic household manual for people.
yeah, check
Right.
these things once a quarter, check these things once a year, check these things once every 3
Yeah,
years, and stuff
absolutely.
like that.
You get, your kid gets a little toy in the Happy Meal. When you open it up, it has a little piece of paper in there that tells you how to assemble that toy.
That's right.
Okay?
Yeah.
McDonald's puts together and wastes 20 cents on printing this together. Yet we sell houses for, what's the average home price right now in Middle Tennessee? For $550,000.
Yeah, easy.
And, hey, here's your keys.
Good luck. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. So, okay, so back to our original point, though, we were just talking about, I love the car analogy, right? Implied maintenance.
Yes.
Because it's like, yeah, these are things that you're just going to have to do. And you're right that there's a lot of buyers that come into the marketplace and they just freak out because they've never heard any of these things before and they think something's wrong. It's like, no, it's just typical maintenance stuff. And let me ask you this in terms of that with sellers. Do you ever recommend sellers do an inspection prior to listing their house?
Yeah, so we work with a lot of investors that actually flip homes.
Yeah.
And the ones that I consider that do it right, a lot of them actually contract with House Call to we do their own inspections for them before they put their houses on the market.
Yeah.
The pre-listing inspection has not really taken off. And
I don't know why. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, because it's the agent. It's an agent barrier.
Yeah.
Like in Middle Tennessee, and this is everywhere, okay? Everywhere, agents are like, they don't want to know, right? Mm-hmm. They have this pre-configured notion that if we do an inspection before listing the home, right, that I now have to disclose all these things, right? And so they don't even bring it up, right? When you go in and talk to a client about selling their house, if your listing presentation never contains a single comment about, hey, we may want to get an inspection on this house, then people aren't going to do it. And that's the old liability standpoint, right? We don't want, but I'll tell you, how many clients have come to you and said, hey, guys, I don't want top dollar on my house. Whatever you can sell it for, I'm okay with. Right?
Yeah.
No, everybody says, they already have done Zillow searches. They think it's worth this, right?
Yeah.
And so they want top dollar. And every time we do a listing and, pre-listing inspection, I feel like the client is able to do the repairs at their direction. They're not having a buyer telling them what to do, right? They have the ability to steer those repairs and work with the contractors that they see fit, right? And so I think it would be great. Now, I'll be the first one though, on the flip side of that coin, if your house is a few years old, if you ask me personally, I'd advise you, unless you've ran it into the ground, it's probably not worth your time. But if your house is a little bit older, for sure.
Yeah, it's that sort of, that anti-litigious, or they're wanting to be like, they want plausible deniability. It's like, I don't want to know because then I have to disclose. But my sense of it, though, is most of it is going to be that what you're talking about, deferred or implied maintenance. you can kind of get ahead of it a little bit. Because here's the other thing that I will tell you, and this is the thing that's changing in the marketplace. There are so many contracts that bust during the inspection period because these buyers don't understand this implied maintenance, right? So it's like, might as well get ahead of it, as many green lights and as few yellow and red lights as possible. That way we're not
100%.
having to navigate a bunch of stuff. And if it's big, you're going to have to fix it anyway. It's not like you're going to like, surprise, it's like you're going to have to fix it anyway. So it's like, might as well get ahead of it.
And that's where I think house call is really good, because there are a lot of bad inspectors out there, right?
Sure.
So I've heard inspectors, and I think you told me in our last training that this is like not even allowed, but I've heard an inspector out of their mouth saying, I wouldn't buy this house. And so, I hear that a lot. And so I think house call is really great at, you're going to see some not green check marks on this inspection report, but it's going to be stuff that's basic maintenance that anybody's going to have to do, that it's not going to take you long. You could probably knock out all these items for less than X amount of dollars. And home buyers will feel a lot more safe knowing that. But if you walk in there and you say, hey, look, I wouldn't buy this house, look at all these things, then, obviously a deal is going to bust, right? Because as these buyers don't know much about this process, they're just going to get turned off and move on.
Yes. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like, it's not our job to make the decision, right? The buyer wrote the contract, right? The buyer chose that house. I get asked that question a lot. Chris, would you buy that? I mean, it's every time I've ever done an inspection, it's like the last question. Hey, by the way, would you buy this house? Technically, our standards of practice, our code of ethics that we've taken as home inspectors, we can't answer that question. You can actually get fined for answering that question. So I try to bring it back to the client, like, look, there's really nothing that cannot be resolved.
Yeah.
I mean, we're way past this is something brand new that we've seen on this house, right? No, that thing's been fixed 1,000+ times, right? And there's 1,000 contractors in Nashville that can deal with that, right? And so to me, it's helping, like I feel the home inspector's job is to inspect, report, and help our job is to make the client feel confident in their purchase, right? Answer the questions so that they can feel confident moving forward, right? That's our job.
One of the other things that I think is a real big, and I've seen this come up really probably at about 50% of the houses that I've sold this year, is the mold, like crawl space issue, right? Or fungal growth in crawl space. What's your take on, because I have clients like freak out about that stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, look, we're in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, very
Unless you have
here.
a full encapsulation, you're going to see something. But what's your take on that issue?
Yeah, so that's crazy. So like, I have a big opinion on it.
Okay.
So like, I think like a lot of home builders that, especially the big box builders that build nationally, they don't take into consideration like the different humidity and things like that in the environments that they come in and build in. So like in Middle Tennessee, we have a climate that, and a lot of people don't realize this, but we have a high humidity here. Okay.
Yeah, we do. Walk outside in the summertime. Yeah.
We do. We do. And so the age-old reference of open your vents in the summer and close them in the winter works great if you're in like an arid environment, right? Yeah. But once you add all that, what does mold need to grow, right? Fungus, mold, these things need a substrate to grow on, right? So you got these vents open, wind travels with dust, pollen, all this stuff. It lands in sometimes insulated crawl spaces, lands on the wood. So there's your substrate to grow. You introduce humidity, which is moisture, and now you raise the heat because it doesn't get hot here in Middle Tennessee, right? Right. You add these things in, and next thing you know, that's why like it's not every crawl space, but it's 9 out of 10. Yeah. 9 out of 10 crawl spaces that we go in, there is some type of fungus. As long as it's not new construction, it's got some type of fungus, some type of mold growing in there. It could be thick as pancake mix. It can be, sporadic, but it's there, right? I'm a big believer that we should probably, and if you go around through different builds and show different new construction houses, you'll see that some of the builders have started just encapsulating right out the go, right? Right out the bat. They're already encapsulating. They've they've either not added any vents, they've added an environment, maybe like cut some ducts in to keep, they're not trying to keep it, 65 degrees in there, but they're trying to keep it down, the temperature moderated. And so I think that's what we should do in Middle Tennessee. We live in an environment where this stuff just grows so rapidly. I don't know if you know this, but mold can grow within 24 hours. It does not take long. You add those 3 things and mold's growing, right? And so true story, my personal house was built in 2021. We lived in it for like 18 months. I went in the crawl space because we had an issue that I had to address, and there was mold growing everywhere, right? So we had to come out and I have a brother that owns a crawl space company, and he came out and encapsulated it for us, right? So, but we had to add a humidifier, all kinds of different things to control the environment in there. And we foamed up and enclosed every vent, and we haven't had an issue since. So,
right. Yeah. Good to know. Okay. So what's another thing that realtors do that you're just kind of like shaking your head about?
Some things that realtors do. Well, setting expectations. I mean, we can continue down that path. Yeah. Like, again, I think you sometimes have to, I feel like realtors sometimes become yes woman, yes man to their client, right? Yeah. Like, cause they don't want to irritate their client to a degree. And so like, when we're talking about repairs and things, setting that expectation and actually trying to help the client pare down, giving them advice. I'm asked all the time privately from an agent, well, Chris, what do you think we should fix? Right. And I'm like, well, there's a lot of stuff going on. And so I'm like, don't let your client go in there. It's like poker. If you sit there and let your client ask for 30 things and I'm the seller and you send me the repair amendment, the first thing I'm going to do is pick everything I don't want to do. Right. So if you ask me for 30 repair items, I'm going to whittle it down to 10. And those are going to be the 10 easiest things on the list that you sent over to me that cost the least amount of money. And now you've wasted your lead card because they're going to come back. And so I try to tell agents like, hey, you have to have this hard discussion with them. And a lot of newer agents are not prepared. They're not seasoned vets. They're not sitting there going, hey, we need to ask for, 5 to 8 items. We need to ask for something that we can get approved, right? Sure. And so I think there's a lot of fear in, not getting to the closing table. But at the end of the day, the client hired you to guide them, right? Yeah. And so if you're just going to let them make that mistake, right, of sending over a large repair list, it's going to get shot down, right? And it goes back and forth. And sometimes...
Yeah. Well, basically what you get is you get people like digging their heels in when you kind of start a negotiation out that way. And so it can just, it puts like bad juju in the deal. And then all of a sudden, we're back in this negotiation phase. And like, we know that like the inspection period is like, it's a second negotiation. One of the things that we encourage agents to do is, hey, do it with money, right? Now the sellers can't give the buyers cash. Increase the closing costs. In a worst case scenario, if the closing costs are maxed out, which they typically aren't, but if they are, then you can escrow from seller proceeds to a repair company or handyman or whatever. But, the second that you start, getting into the actual repairs to be done, in our opinion, it's like now we're introducing a whole new list of variables into the scenario because sellers are fixing it like they're leaving and buyers want it fixed like they're going to be there for 100 years. And so we're like, hey, listen, let's kind of figure out roughly, and this is one of the things that you guys offer is cost estimates on some of those repairs. So that way we can negotiate with money and not necessarily on the repairs to be done.
Yeah, it helps with the speed of the transaction on that repair price or report. I mean, as an agent, you work for free until you get to the closing table. I mean, that's pretty much your life. So, you're on this commission type schedule. And so at the end of the day, you could call Window World yourself and help your client find all these contractors, or you could get one of those reports, which frees up your time, right? Sure. So that you can go out and show more houses and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, again, it's setting up a system as an agent ironing it out and then coming up. So you just asked me about what are some other things that are irritable. So like since COVID, I'm going to go on my soapbox here for a second. So like I think as agents, if you go back prior to COVID, sellers left the house, right? I cannot tell you how many times like I did inspections pre-COVID and I was there and the buyer would show up with the agent at the end and we would review. Since COVID, and we have this work from home environment, now it's like sellers are always home, right? And you meet them and they're like, oh, I'm just going to be in my home office and I'm going to stay out of your way. And then I start snapping photos and they're like, is there something wrong? And I'm like, well, I told you just a minute ago that you're going to see me take lots of photos and a lot of them are informative. So don't read into it. I'm just here to inspect your home and, I'm going to do the best I can, right? If I find something that is an emergency, I would definitely let you know. That's what I mean. So I think we need to like go back to like, hey, I know you might work from home, but go work from Starbucks for 3 hours because I'll tell you, I can't tell you the amount of times I've had to be referee, right? Like the buyer shows up, right? Now the seller's home. And then the seller will be like, who's that? And I'll be like, that's the buyer. And they'll be like, my listing agent didn't tell me the buyer was coming. And I'm like, yeah, well, in the standard transactional real estate transaction, buyers do come to the inspection either at the end or sometimes for the whole thing. Maybe they want to take measurements. Maybe they want to get blind. They saw your house and they had to put an offer in. They had like an hour showing, right? So they're going to use this time to take another visit. And then I got to go out and greet my buyer and be like, hey, just so you know, the seller's here. And the buyer's like, the seller's here? What are you talking about? Oh, and they start calling you. And I'm like, hold on, I'll call Brandon. And then, you show up or something like that. And it's just, I feel like I'm a WWE referee trying to like keep two people apart. And it's awkward. It's awkward city. I think I have a true story. I did this inspection this past spring and I walk in and it was a mom and I'm not singling her out, but she had 4 kids and she was sitting on the couch watching like Days of Our Lives or something like that. And her kids ranged from about 3 to like 9. And I came in, I introduced myself and she said, hey, no problem. Do what you need to do. So I started my inspection and I started walking around the house and I turn around, pulled something out of my tool belt and I look and there's 4 kids with me, all 4 kids. I'm like, hey, that's my screwdriver. It's no big deal. So they followed me around the house. When I inspected the entire interior of the house, they followed me, all 4 kids, every room, something that should have taken like 2.5 hours or 2 hours. I was there for over 4.5 hours and they tried to go in the crawl space with me. The older child tried to go up the stairs with me into the attic. And the whole time I'm like, oh, this lady, she never got off the couch, not one time. And when I left, the listing agent was calling me like, Chris, why are you not done? And I'm like, why am I not done? Your client's here. When I left, I walked outside and I was talking to my buyer and the agent. And I was like, I felt like I needed to charge for some daycare here. I just watched your kids for 4.5 hours.
That's unbelievable.
It is.
Oh my gosh.
But this is what happens.
Yeah.
Think about, to even add to that, home inspections are routine, right? What we teach all of our home inspectors to do the same routine. Why is this? This is high efficiency systems. You can look at any system in the world and they develop a system. So we have a system at House Call. All of our home inspectors do the same thing. That way, if anything ever happens, we can go back and pinpoint where the failure was, right? How did we get here, right? And so we need them all to do the same process, but it is a routine. I could teach both of you. Give me like 2 weeks and you guys would be inspecting, okay? The thing is, every Sunday, me and my wife wake up and we go to church, right? She gets ready, takes her a little longer. I get ready. Once I'm done, I go get my son and drag him out of bed, get him ready, and then we leave and that's how we get to church on time. If my son my 10-year-old's having a bad day and kicking and screaming and doesn't want to go to church and throwing out all these excuses, guess what happens? We get to church and I'm like, I didn't brush my teeth. You know why I didn't brush my teeth? Because Kellen ruined my routine that I do every single Sunday because I had to keep going back, right? That's the same thing on a home inspection, right? Like if I'm out there doing the inspection and you tell me, hey, my uncle's cousin's nephew, brother, who's a part-time contractor is going to come be there the whole time.
Yeah.
And we're walking around the house and I'm doing my routine and he's asking me 1,000 questions. Don't get mad if I walk right by a disconnected downspout, right?
Right.
Because, yeah, it's the same thing. Seller home,
Yeah, don't distract you. It's like, I tell clients, I'm like, hey, listen, especially buyers. First of all, sellers, get out, right? It's like because your house is going to be invaded, right?
Go back to that.
Yeah, get out. And I don't understand that. I've always told my sellers, like, you do not need to be here. Trust me, you don't want to be here.
That's crazy.
On the buy side, I'm like, hey, guys, like, leave the inspector alone. If you need to come, like it's like come for the last 30 minutes, right? So, at 2.5 hours, you can kind of show up. Okay, but during that time, he may not be done yet. He may be getting the deal together. So if you want to measure for furniture, if you're trying to like get drapes, whatever sort of stuff you're going to do when you move in, do all that now. Or if you want your mom to see it or your dad to see it, whatever, bring them at that time. Now, here's the danger. I was like, don't bring dad.
Don't bring dad.
You can bring your mom to see it, but don't bring your dad. Dads are,
straight
notoriously deal killers. It's like,
Anytime somebody says I'm going to call my dad, I'm like, all right, this deal just busted.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I tell you what, so that's the thing. We carry tape measures. We give them stuff to do those things. And we tell them like, hey, home inspections are a routine, right? I'm out here doing a routine. If you must follow me around, just try to keep it to a minimum. Wait till I'm in a break to ask a question or bring me back to it. And see, I have no problem. Like show up at the end. I'll stay an hour with you, right? No, I have. It's set up in our schedule to do that, right? Sure. But when they're there at the beginning, and funny enough, we track every callback, right? So like every callback, like when they come in, it's like, okay, was this legit? Did we actually miss this? Was it on the report, right? And most of them, it's on the report. They just don't know where it's at. This is now, so we have this small, like this year, it's 2024. I think our callbacks, we're at about 2,800 home inspections. Our callbacks are under 1%. Just in Nashville, okay? But we track them and we want to know like, okay, did anybody attend the inspection, right? If they did, when did they get there, right? Because I can tell you, I can look at the data and be like, every one of these callbacks, there was some type of distraction, something that is not the perfect setting for doing an inspection. Like the buyer was there the whole time. Uncle Eddie was there walking around with Ricky and he walked by a missed, broken beam or something like that. That's when it happens. The seller was home and asked 30,000 questions, right? So.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I'll say before we kind of wrap up is, we get, I wouldn't say callbacks, but, a deal where, after the situation, like I had this, I'll just share the story from the other day. One of my agents called and they said, hey, by the way, these people did not get an inspection. And they said, well, hey, the septic is running right out into the yard. And we actually tried it with red dye to make sure, and we flushed the toilets running right into the yard. Are the sellers, what can we do here? And I'm like, well, first,
we told you to get an inspection.
First, we told you to get an inspection. Second, let's figure out what the problem is. Because I think a lot of times it's like something's wrong and they're looking for somebody to just come out and fix it immediately. And it's like, well, it doesn't work that way. It's like, first of all, we got to find out what the issue is. Then we can find out liability with whoever, whether it's failure to disclose or the inspector missed it or whatever. But I would just say, like, when that happens, which it inevitably does, and one of the things that I do at the closing table is I will say, first of all, I encourage my clients to get a home warranty, so that way they just have a number to call. But one of the things I say is something is going to go wrong in the first 30 days. because you're going to live in this house differently than the previous owners did. Right? You're going to use you're going to flush the toilets more. You're going to use the sink more. You're going to use that door more. And so there's some things that are going to break. So just be ready for that. And it's nobody's fault. It's just part of home ownership.
You're spot on. The thing is even if they did get an inspection, I think a lot of people feel like a home inspection is there to find everything. Yeah. It doesn't. It's a visual inspection. It's not a lived-in inspection. We did not spend 10 hours there that day showering in everyone. Yeah, did you hear that? That was a beat. We did not, we weren't there showering in we didn't have, a family of 5 there with us that day, right? And I tried to, when I end my home inspections, especially if the house is occupied, right? It's not a vacant home. It's 100% occupied, furniture everywhere. I always tell them, I say, hey, when I leave today, just recognize when you do your final walkthrough, you're going to see something that's not in the report. And I'm just apologizing for it right now because we don't move their furniture. We don't move their clothes in the closets. You're going to find something, and that's inevitably going to happen. It happens on every inspection. I just want you to be, know that up front. I documented everything that I could visually see today. Right. So, yeah. All
right, sir. Well, one last word of advice for real estate agents.
Well, my number one word of advice is because a lot of agents don't know this, but if you're showing a house with a septic system, you always need to recommend that it gets pumped and inspected. That is the number one thing. That's a $10,000 fix if you miss that.
Wow. Yeah. Great piece of advice.
Definitely pumped. I mean, not a lot of people do that very often. So definitely pumped and inspected.
All right, guys.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, you can find us at yourinspectorteam.com. Yep. And then that's our tag on all of our socials as well.
Inspector?
Yep, yourinspectorteam.com.
Got it.
Awesome.
Great.
All right, Chris, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. As always, like, subscribe, make sure to give us a rating. We'll see you next week. Bye.